Could I ask Mr. Kelly, who's online?
Councillor Rivard, are you online?
I am on the line, yeah.
And Councillor Drawn, you online?
Yes, I am.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so we have 10. Okay, so call to order, and I just wanted to notify that Mark McDonald, who's with CBCL, he's not the new councillor from Ward 7. Never tried to even look at that position, but he's here. Alex is down there in Councillor Duran's seat. And there are some residents who are out in the foyer. And Mr. Kelly, I think that when we do send out news releases, that some residents think that they can come in here, but could you clarify where they must go because of COVID-19?
I think it already is clarified, Your Worship.
Well, no, some of them, they were not clarified, so I'm just going to get them to clarify.
So due to protocol, Your Worship, this room here is only for the majority of council. We have to space it as per directions, and that's why we have the overflow room outside for the public to come. And if we need other space, we have also the park room, Your Worship. So we do try to encourage the public to go online because it is going live as well.
Yeah.
But if they wish to be here, we do have two rooms which we can fit so many people in. After that, then we have no more space, Your Worship.
Yeah, yes, I appreciate that. And it was asked about that some of the presentations, if we do have the TV, the monitor in the corner, they're not able to see it. So I think some people will be speaking to our IT specialists about trying to correct that problem.
And we also post online, Your Worship, that we have space for 15 individuals.
It's online.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's not in the chamber, it's in the foyer or the park gallery.
Yes, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir. Okay, declarations of conflict of interest.
Seeing none?
Okay, I have an approval for the agenda. Any additions, deletions, omissions?
Would like to add.
Councillor McLeod, did you want to add
I'd
something?
like to add the perimeter highway active transportation corridor project we put on the agenda.
The active transportation?
Yeah.
Transportation map?
Yep.
Okay, so that's to be added. Is someone to second that?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, so with that, Mr. Kelly, we need unanimous approval.
Yes, Your Worship.
All those in favor, please put up your hand. Okay, Councillor Rivard,
Yeah.
Councillor Drawn.
Well, what's that again? Could you repeat that?
Yes. Terry, Councillor McLeod, could you just speak?
I'm asking Councillor Durong if the perimeter, the highway active transportation corridor that we talked about along Riverside Drive to be added to the agenda, which we've already approved so much.
We deferred it.
We deferred it, we just have an update, that's all. And a resolution actually to keep going. But just want to have it put on the agenda.
I didn't get any of that information, so.
No, you did get that information. Was passed, it was in a package. What meeting, Mr. Kelly?
Just last week.
It went out last, when we met
Yeah,
last
it
time.
was in our package for last week's meeting, and it was deferred because we tried to get a better,
More funding, Your Worship.
more funding from the provincial government, and I think well, Councillor Bernard will speak to it.
Okay, so.
Okay.
So you got an update.
You want to get a little background, Your Worship?
Yeah, well, no, we'll just approve the agenda.
Well, let's just get it on the agenda and then.
You're all right there, Councillor Bernard, Councillor Duran?
Sure.
Yes, okay, 10, so that's 10-0.
Okay, and also,
You want to add something else?
I would like to defer the discussion on the
4A.
4A Manor Road.
And you get a seconder?
I'll second it.
Okay.
And basically, the reason for that is just we're.
You want to speak to the deferral?
We're still lacking some information.
Okay, so Mark McDonald is here, but we don't want to get any information from him tonight, or?
I don't think so. I think we only have phase one of the study, and we're waiting for, I think most councils would like to see all the study done before we do any discussions on it.
So the traffic study, Your Worship, will be done with approximately 2 weeks hence.
Yeah.
I think the consensus is that, we might as well have the whole thing done. Can't make a decision in my town.
Well, Mark McDonald is a good engineer, and he'll get it done. CBCL. Councillor Yankoff.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. And if I could just ask too that when it's completed, if we could be given, we received an email today at 9:30 with part of it. I didn't have a chance to even open that today to review it. We could just have some time. And then, of course, we would probably have questions, but we need some time for us to review it. you know, it might even need to be grade 8 language down for us too, so we can understand it. Thank you.
So, can I just ask?
Yeah.
Councillor Twill, sorry, he did have his hand up first. Councillor Twill?
Yeah, I second the resolution because the community wants to be fully engaged. I did send a couple of emails regarding public participation. So when the engineer goes to make a presentation on the traffic studies, all the traffic studies, I think we should be doing it in a public forum where the residents have an opportunity to be able to not only hear and see the presentations, but have an opportunity to ask questions. This is a critical component to the development, and I don't think we should be looking at it in isolation of the development. We need to look at it from a global perspective, and as I'll reiterate once again, that the residents in the community want to be fully engaged, fully empowered, and be involved in this process. And no disrespect to the way it's set up here today. It's not as open, as transparent as they would like it to be, as I would like it to be. And I did on 2 occasions send in emails asking for this to go to a full-fledged public meeting, and I would suggest that the Rod Royalty Inn, so that the residents can also have that opportunity to hear the presentation from the engineer and have an opportunity to ask questions and be a part of the process. I don't believe for 1 minute that's an unreasonable request.
Thank you. Councillor McCabe, and then Councillor Duffy, and I think maybe Councillor Rivard would like to respond to what was said, because Mr. Alex Forbes, did we not have a public meeting on this issue?
We did, Your Worship.
We did. Was that at the Rod Royalty?
It wasn't.
Councillor McCabe, sorry.
And I think what Councillor Twill might be indicating, because this is what I'm thinking, is we know that there's this is part one of a bigger phase. So I would like to see myself be familiar and comfortable with what is that bigger plan, as far as, you know, this traffic study for this particular environment is one part, but there is a whole other piece that's coming that I would prefer to have that information on if we're looking at the bigger picture. So as Councillor Yankoff said, and I did read your report, and I know I'm not a traffic engineer, but thank you. But a little simpler words just for comprehension. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Actually, whoever asked the question, I think it was you asked the question, we've already had the public comment.
Yeah, no, that's why I just confirmed it with Alex.
So we've tried it once before of holding a second one, and we've been told point blank, no, one per application. So with all due respect to Councillor Twill, it's not possible. It's just not possible. It's not permitted.
Councillor Rivard or Councillor Durant, we can't see your hand, so I'm going to ask. Councillor Rivard?
Your Worship, yeah, Your Worship, thank you. So just, I heard it's kind of muffled a little bit, so I heard a little bit of it. But as for another public meeting, I mean, that's where we can't do that. I mean, we've had the public meeting. Is the representatives from CDCL there tonight to answer any questions?
Yes, Mark McDonald is here.
So I guess my question would be this: why wouldn't council listen and ask questions tonight to the representative Mark from CDCL prior to making any decision on this? I mean, I think I saw that there was a resolution to be had afterwards. If after hearing the remarks and the report, even if it may be part of the report, I think at that point we'd be in a better position to say yay or nay or defer at that time. But to simply put a motion on the floor to defer without listening to any of the conversation or explanations, I think it's a bit short-sighted on our part. But
Councillor Rivard, I spoke to Mark McDonald before the meeting. He is here only to answer questions from the report, and Councillor Yankoff said that you received it this morning?
Yeah, no, just shy of 10.
Yeah, so that's I think the issue here. Councillor Durant, any issue or concerns? Councillor Durant?
no, I'd like to see the report before I proceed on it. So
You want to defer, okay.
yeah.
Councillor Twill,
Yeah.
second time.
Yeah, it's true. We did have a public meeting, but you know what? Not all the information was there. You can't have a public meeting and only get half the information. This was an indispensable component to the public meeting. So I would suggest, And one of the reasons why I second the referral, that we should go back to a public meeting, because you can't go to a public meeting when all your information is incomplete. This was an incomplete process.
Trains left the station.
We don't have to change it. That's what our job is. Our job here is to ensure that the process is adhered to effectively, efficiently. We hear the words openness and transparency. You can't go to a public meeting and only have half the information. And the traffic study,
Just 1 second, Councilor Burt, let me finish.
the traffic study is an indispensable prerequisite to making sure that the residents and the community have all the information, and they feel confident that all that information was exhausted, and they had an opportunity to question the legitimacy and the validity of the traffic study. No disrespect to you, sir, but they want to be part of the process. They come out to the meeting, and if all the information's not there, then they're not comfortable and they're not confident in the process. I would suggest, and that's why I said, I think we need to go back to another public meeting with the engineer, making a presentation, then you open up the floor and give the residents a chance to ask questions. Again, I reiterate, that is not an unreasonable request.
So, Councilor Rivard, did you want
Yeah,
to
just,
respond?
I think I just want to just offer clarity, a little bit of clarity to this. So we went to the public meeting, and what was asked of the developer at that time, just for purposes of council, is the traffic report was done by the developer. The developer had that as part of the presentation for his initial application. This piece that we're talking about, this traffic study on a holistic look of that whole area is a separate matter. And while it will offer greater clarity to the bigger picture, the end of the day is that the applicant had a traffic study done, has the application into us. So again, I just want to make sure that council's not blurring the two different traffic studies. One is done for the city's purposes on a holistic look on how we want that area to the connectivity and everything else in the future. But again, we have an application that has an applicant that has went ahead of us, that was a traffic study done on the area. So two separate things.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor McCabe.
I know it's my second time. I appreciate that, and I'm kind of going back to what Councillor Tweel says, because for me personally, it's still knowing that it's a part of a bigger picture, and if we're going to do this, it might as well be done right. We're looking at one small piece. It does have direct impact on what the bigger picture is. So for me, I think that part is equally important when we're trying to make decisions around this.
Councilor Duffy, Alex just wanted to add some
Sure,
information.
sure.
Is that all right?
Yeah,
Kenny?
sure.
Mr. Forbes?
The clarity that Councilor Rivard provided was the same clarity I was going to provide.
And
Just keep in mind that the developer has provided his own study, his own traffic study to support what he's doing there. The other part of it that is discussion tonight, I'm sure purview, is there's a city, more global city traffic study. So there's two studies. I just want to clarify, the developer did his part. He paid for it, got an independent study, and CBCL looked at his study in relation to the one we're preparing. But you are correct, the city study is not complete. It's a couple of weeks away. Thank you.
And it's all good to have the full package to you.
So
Just 1 second,
Can I just-
Councilor Councilor Duffy's been waiting.
Just to extend Mr. Forbes' statement a bit, I just want to make it clear that the traffic study that's required for this development, particularly for this development, is paid for by the developer and is the property of the developer. And the only people that he is commanded to turn it over to is the city, the planning board staff, right? If he wants to share with anyone else, that's his call.
Correct.
So, I don't know why we're stymied here. He will turn it over to Mr. Forbes and his staff, so it's done, particular to this smaller development. So I don't understand, I really don't. Anyway.
Councilor Rivard?
Sorry, thank you. We're just going back to, I'm just trying to
Councilor Rivard?
grab my thoughts here. Yeah,
Councilor Rivard?
yeah.
I have to just stop you because you went your second time, so I think we have to put the question on the floor.
Yeah.
It's a question on the floor.
I didn't ask, Your Worship, when you talked the second time, I didn't ask two questions. I simply answered questions two times. So it wasn't like I had two points of clarity. I was offering answers as chair to members of council. So I think there's a difference between that, but that's fine. I think everything is said.
Yeah, Councilor Wright.
That's it.
I think the issue is not so much what Councilor Duffy brought up. I think the issue is that we just got the report late this morning, and a lot of us never had a chance to review it. So we don't have any questions for the consultant.
Right.
So I think that's why we're looking to just postpone it for a couple more weeks, and he could done the bigger picture, but we have an opportunity to read it and be prepared to ask questions.
And Mark will have the fuller report, the
That's right.
complete report done in a couple of weeks, correct?
So,
Mark?
Your Worship, can I
Question
I do have
called?
one question myself.
You got a question?
I do have one question, so I didn't
To
ask
who?
a question yet. It's really more to Mr. Forbes, if I may. So, to the chair, of course, myself. Anyways, Alex, is there anything procedurally wrong with this? I mean, again, when we say we want to defer, we have to defer for a reason. The developer has done everything that they have been asked to do. And I guess the question, just from a procedure standpoint, we're deferring to later a report that had nothing to do with this development. Could we be accused of holding up the process or doing something wrong? I'm just ask that question before I vote.
Your Worship,
Sure.
I would love if the legal counsel was here this evening, but I guess what counsel can say is that you're in a decision-making mode this evening, and in the absence of having the information, you'd be forced to say, or some of you may be forced to say no. That's your decision-making, not mine, but again, that opportunity is afforded to you, and your reasoning is what you're alluding to, but hopefully that, if you've got the two studies, but keep in mind, if we go to a public meeting on the traffic study, that's not on this application. You may want to bring the two of them together, but it's not a product of this application.
And just to sum up, Mr. Forbes, on the memo from Mr. Mark McDonald, it was dated September 11th.
Right.
And it was, as some councils stated very clearly, we just received it today, so there was that lag there. And you know what? We'd be voting on something that we don't know anything about. So I think the deferral is to give us time to read it all.
Well, it's to be fair to the developer too.
And Councillor Ramsey, did you call the question?
Questions called, Your Worship.
Okay, all those in favor of the deferral, raise your hands. And Councillor Duran, yea or nay?
Yay.
Councillor Brevard?
Sure.
Okay, 10-0. So that's deferred. What's the next item? I'm sorry. Oh, that's to approve the agenda, well, okay. Okay, 4B.
Agenda, Your Worship.
Public Works, do you want to approve the agenda?
Yes, Your Worship.
Okay, can we get approval for the agenda?
As amended.
Moved, second, all those in favor? Okay, so the first one is the Public
Point
Works.
of order, Your Worship.
Yes, sir.
Where did Councilor Twill?
Is that
Are you kidding me?
He's
Could you go, Ken?
got me right here.
Did he ask to be excused?
There's something that we just don't know about, and we should have been informed about it.
It's just,
And it's, you know what, it's actually respecting all the other councillors that sit here and wait for their turn to speak, or
Yeah,
the
he's
wait.
been told, look at this, like, he's not even here. It's like, he's a slip of the tongue or slip of the mind. It's gonna take a good old time coming back.
Yeah. Councillor Yankow?
This is what we call
I am just
grandstanding.
perplexed over this. Can we, should this meeting end?
We should expel him from tonight.
I think we should end.
Folks, the mics are,
Like, I move that we
Just want you
adjourn the
reminded.
meeting.
Well, we got a couple of,
Yeah, but at the same time, we're giving into,
Mercy.
Excuse me, what happened? I don't even know what happened.
Councillor Twill left the chamber without asking permission.
he has,
Try to a pep rally.
Councillor Twill left the chamber for what reason?
The washroom
don't
know.
in the washroom.
The gallery, the
Take
gallery.
a few bows.
There to talk to Jelly.
So we're just
Anyway, shall we
waiting.
move on?
You know what, guys, I'd really like to get this done. Councillor Twill, I've said to you, and I just asked Councillor Duffy, when you leave the chamber, you have to ask permission. Mr. Kelly, is that the rule?
sure.
So this is the second or third time you've done this. You're not respecting the councillors and what we do here as a collective body. We're here as a team. Like, why do we have to go over this every time? Is there a reason, like, you know?
Yeah, I went to the washroom.
Yeah, but then you ask. You ask it. I know we've asked. I know with George McDonald, Clifford Lee is mayor. Anytime you get up to leave the chamber, you had to, can I go? Yay or nay? Anyways,
Yes, thank you.
can we just go to the next one? It's Public Works Resolution. Do you want to read it there, sir?
Your worship, moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Yankoff, that as per the conditions of the public tender for the Capitol Drive culvert replacement, the submission of Island Coastal Services in the amount of $1,139,918.20 plus all applicable taxes be accepted, Your worship.
Okay. So do you have a question?
Yes, Your Worship, I do.
It's about the price or?
Yeah, just on this resolution, and maybe not so much a direct question, but more of a comment. I think in the capital budget, we set aside $2 million for culvert replacement that everyone agreed to.
Yeah.
This is, 1.1 million. The other 850,000 is that back on the table for other projects, i.e.
Beach Grove, this is the second one. Beach Grove was the first one.
There's still one to come.
Yeah, I don't know if Beach Grove's going to happen this year.
Is that right?
It's,
We had
it's
pictures.
going to.
What's that?
We had pictures, of
It's going to tender, Your worship, and then we'll know what's there.
Okay.
But that would be the second one out of that budget.
So how long does this project take? Like, will this be completed in the fall?
I don't have that answer here, Darren.
we said from the outset on these culverts, these big culverts, it was going to be expensive. And this really is, this is one at 1.3.
This is just for a concrete pipe. This is not for a box culvert. This is a round pipe.
Yeah, but it's a large project.
It's just, Councillor Duffy, the
It's
issue
plus
with,
tax too, right?
yeah, with the Ellens Creek,
Yeah.
it's a tidal zone,
Yeah.
and DFO, during this time of the year might be. I think, Councillor, or Deputy Mayor, what are you asking? Are you trying to find out if there's ways to?
Yeah, I know we postponed the ditch
Stormwater
infiltration
management.
program. And I knew we agreed to this culvert replacement, so when I seen this figure with $2 million in the capital budget, I thought if there's a surplus and we have time in the year, could we have a look at that? But I didn't realize there was another tender on the books.
Yeah.
And I think you recall with the Queen's Arms intersection, it was September, October.
Yeah.
That they were around.
It was October.
Yeah, so they're around the same timeline here.
Okay. Question? Yep. Okay. All those in favor, please put up your hand. Councillor Drawn?
In favor?
Councillor Rivera?
In favor.
10-0. You can come in there, sir?
Your worship, moved by Councillor Bernard, second by Councillor Duffy, that council approve a further increase in the city's financial year 2020-2021 capital budget of $537,721 to fund the Bell Alliance Center funding 2020-2021 capital expenditure program, and that the capital budget increase is to fund additional cost of the pool dehumidification project related to the full CO2 chiller capacity, and further that the revised 10-year capital expenditure program is attached.
question to Councilor Bernard there? Yep. Go ahead there, Councilor Twill. Yep. No, you.
So this is an additional expenditure of $537.
$537,000.
Yeah, $537,000. So, just a few weeks ago, we approved an expenditure for parking lot, for the pool,
1.8.
1.8, and now over $500,000, right? So we're talking what total?
2.2.
So my question is this a need or a want?
So, Councillor Twill, we had the general manager in yesterday, and apparently, so the 1.8 that we approved was their guesstimate, and they've had the consultants go through the building and reevaluate all the guesstimates, and the actual price is going to be 2.2 to do that beautification system.
Okay, my question is, why was this not part of the original budget?
It was like the 1.8. So you recall, this was going to be next year, and we moved to this year because the building's closed anyway. And to do this, they had to close the building. So as opposed to closing the building next year, we moved it up a year. So at that point, the guesstimate was 1.8 million. They've since had their consultants go out, review the building, and the actual cost is going to be 2.2. So the general manager was here yesterday to
That's an enormous expenditure. That was not part of the budget.
One part of the budget was underestimated.
Pardon me?
It was part of the budget, but it was underestimated.
Not to this amount, Councillor Duffy.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
to
it was,
the total
it was
amount.
in the budget at a lower amount. It was under budgeted.
By how much?
What was it?
537,000.
Yeah.
137,000 or?
It's it's happened throughout this, all the departments this year with COVID and all.
They're fine.
It happened at the Centennial Park. We were over by $81,000.
No, that was not a new, we just.
It's the same situation.
No, it's the same thing as Centennial and the parking lot in Mulberry. Those were all over the budget. You had budgeted dollars there, but the bid.
So this money was in the
budget.
budgets?
1.8 million.
Yeah.
1.8, we're adding $537,700.
Yeah.
And originally, back when we did the parking lot and the pool, what was that? How much?
1.8.
1.8. So what's the total amount?
2.2.
2.2. So this was in the budget, that money was in the budget?
1.8. Council approved that to go ahead to do this project this year. Yeah.
What you're looking at there, Councilor Twill, is the difference between what the true estimate is and what the estimate for budgetary purposes was. Is the
So just so I understand, the money was in the budget?
Not
all of
it.
The project, council, was in the budget. The budget amount we had in the budget at the time, it was an estimate. They went to tender, the tender came in higher. This is now the revised amount required to finish the project.
Okay, so.
Do you recall the conversation we had, Councilor Twill, about doing the project this year as it was on the books for next year?
I understand that.
And then the building's closed, so it was to save us revenue from closing the building again next year. So we moved to this year, so the guesstimate was 1.8 million. Now that they've done the actual work, the price is actually 2.2 million.
Okay, so it did come from another line item. Is that safe to say? No?
No, we approved it to do the
All right,
work.
all right, I'm just trying to understand it.
Yep.
Councilor Twill, similar to your Centennial Park one, you had 60,000. It was on the budget for 60,000, but when the estimate came in, it was 141,000. So you had to find 81,000 somewhere. It's the same scenario.
Almost double your budget for that.
different
So
numbers.
remember they canceled one project and they did the.
And even then, you know what? Even then, the project's not complete.
Okay, Councilor?
Can
Okay.
you just provide clarification for me on the event show lighting and pageantry upgrades at Carrie? What's that for 93,000?
Is that, you're looking at the
Yeah, I'm
spreadsheet
just
there?
wondering what, like the event show lighting and pageantry upgrades at Carrie, what would that be for?
Are you looking at their 10-year plan?
I'm looking at the projects approved, yeah.
Yeah, but you look at the top line.
It's it's like the third last one for 93,000?
Yeah, but that's not for 2022,
That's
2023.
projects approved. I know, I'm just, okay. It
Yeah.
doesn't, that's not included?
That's the
No.
Canada Games project for the upgrades for Canada Games.
So that's in this, what we're approving
No.
tonight?
No, that's-
Okay, well,
No.
all right, fine.
It's the spreadsheet that the general manager gave us. right,
Well, I would have assumed that that was part of the two, what we're
no,
looking for.
this is
so I
the
was looking for clarification.
dehumidifier parking lot. It's the dehumidifier it's the cost of installation, and it's just the prices are way out of whack.
So this 575,000 that we're approving is for the
The
120?
dehumidification.
Right here, to fund the additional cost of the pool dehumidification project and the CO2 chiller project.
Just those two things?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't see that on there, sorry.
Question?
Question. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Councillor Rivard, yea or nay?
I'm in favor.
Councillor Drawn?
I'm in favor.
Okay. Next one, Mr. Kelly?
Moved by Councillor McLeod, second by Councillor Bernard, that the Island Coastal be awarded the Charlottetown Perimeter Highway Active Transportation Corridor Phase 1 tender in the reduced scope project up to an amount of no more than $946,000, inclusive of all applicable taxes, and further, that an application be made in the 2021-2022 to the PEI Active Transportation Fund for the next phase of the project.
I have a question.
Just 1 second. I want, do you want to take that? Here, take these. Okay. So Councillor Bernard, I want him to explain it first because this has worked out with the province.
Yeah.
I think we spoke to the Premier about it, and you want to give the background just before you ask your question,
Sure.
Councillor Tweel?
Yeah, so it's an environment sustainability committee.
Oh,
project.
Tell you what, how about, I'll just start.
With
So
the
we,
finance-
let me kind of introduce it,
Could-
and then you can take over, because,
Are you all right with that, Councillor McLeod, just to give us
yeah, it just,
some history on it?
so we're here to approve what we already approved. We're not, what turned out is the total project, what we wanted to do was too much money. So we already approved this 946,000, where we're going to spend 482. So when the project, when it came in, we thought we'd be able to get the whole thing done, but we can't. So all we're doing here tonight is basically, and Terry will explain the finance side after talking to the government, we're just going to spend what we already approved, and that means we're reducing the scope of the project because the cost came higher than that. Just similar to what we just talked about. Instead of asking for more money, we're just saying we're going to do it at this for this year, and then the government also has gave us the indication that they'll give us 50% to finish the project next year. So that's in a nutshell. But Terry, the finance side, you've got a pressure. But we're not doing anything new here tonight. We're still spending the same amount of money that we already approved. We're just reducing the scope of the project to make it fit.
So what they recommended was keep within the budget that we agreed, their 50%, our 50%, reduce the scope of the project, and then for the finishing off the next phase, we reapply for funding under the Active Transportation next year, or we can apply starting January. So the scope of the project would go from Kensington Road now to Pioneer, where at one time it was from Kensington Road to
If I can just
Murchison Lane.
Just to interrupt just for a second, in case you're reading or you're following along on the thing, there's a typo there. It says Murchison Lane to Pioneer.
Yeah.
It should say Kensington Road to Pioneer, just so you're clear that it is, that's the stretch. Sorry,
And
Terry.
then the next phase next year would be from Pioneer to Murchison Lane. So basically what we're doing is, as Councillor McLeod said, we're staying within budget. And this is the money that was approved for the project.
So how many phases should this project?
You know what, Councillor?
3, I think.
We were looking at 3, and it really comes down to whenever we do our project applications with the province under the Active Transportation Corridor, how much money they have. So originally we were looking at phase 1, Kensington Road to Murchison Lane. Phase 2 would be Norwood Road to Brackley Point Road. Phase 3 would be Brackley Point Road to Manitowood Road. Now phase 2 and 3 could be combined into one phase, depending on how much money they have in active transportation for Charlottetown. I mean, you know, the province trying to do these active transportation trails all over the island, not just Charlotte. But, you know, so they're looking to spread, those are the phases that we've identified, and and we've let them know, and from what we gathered from the input, conversations with the provinces, they agree with those phases,
So, we approved this here because the second line says, and further that the application be made in 2021-22, PEI Active Transportation Fund for the next phase of the project. Does that mean other projects will not go ahead?
No.
For active transportation?
No, when we applied, it was for phase 1. And phase 1 was Kensington Road to Merchant Lane. So right now, because of the costs come in higher, we're not able to get that 50% cost sharing. So we want to get 50% cost sharing. So we've reduced the scope to the $946,000 that was originally budgeted. And now in January, we'll apply for funding for phase 2. And that will be from Pioneer to Merchant Lane and Norwood Road to Brockley Point Road. If the province has enough money in their fund, it may go from Norwood Road right to Meadowwood Road to complete the phase.
And right to the trail. Confederation Trail.
Confederation Trail.
That's right. Which
That's
is
where
the
we
main
wanna-
trunk.
That's where we want to hook up to.
Yeah. And Councillor Bernard, as the minister said yesterday, and the deputy minister said from the Transportation Infrastructure and Energy, the tendering that they're doing now, this fall, is way out of whack. It's much higher than they projected, but they have to find the money to keep the projects going. And they agreed to help us out by splitting this so that we can get this started and work it in with what they're doing there on Wrights Bridge, Andrews Pond, up to Brackley Point Road, then up to Mount Edward Road. It's a good project.
And just on that, it's good to hear them, but they're having the same issues we are. As this particular year, projects are all coming in higher than expected. And so they feel that next year things will probably fall back into place to the norm.
Hope so. Praying.
Assuming that we can COVID under control outside, because they feel it's the increased cost of COVID-19.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Okay.
this is just basically to keep it on budget.
Question?
Questions called.
Questions called.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, Councillor Bird, yea or nay?
In favor.
Councillor Drawn, yea or nay?
In favor.
Just before we go on to the next one, Mr. Kelly said that I did not hear something properly, or it was my hearing.
So under
It was
the
not-
finance resolution, there's one more for Eastlink.
Yes, but for the Bell Alliance Center for the 537,000, it was 9-1 in favor.
I believe that was correct, Your Worship.
Right.
If you want to clarify with Councillor Duran, I think he voted no, Your Worship.
Councillor Duran, did you vote in favor or against the?
Again.
Okay, so Councillor Duran against, so it's 9-1. That was the previous one on Bell Alliance Center. I thought it was 10-0.
I don't think I was here, was I?
No, we just voted on it.
You were here.
Okay, you got another tender or another motion there, Mr.
Mr. Worship,
Mr.
moved by
Kelly?
Councillor Bernard, second by Councillor Duffy, that the City of Charlottetown increase the capital budget of Eastlink Center room renovations by $20,930 to cover the cost of the project, and that the revised total budget of this project is $45,930.
And it should be noted, Your Worship, when it says Eastlink Center room, it's the referee's room that they're expanding.
It should be very specific, the referees room.
Your Worship,
Yes, sir. Councillor Ramsey?
under economic development, this is basically what we came for a little bit, but it's to attract your major things like your World Under-17s, your national university hockey and all that. Like it's a standard size room. Am I correct, Councilman Bernard?
Is it coming out of economic development budget, or
I would know, I'll be done in a week anyway, so it makes no difference.
shouldn't have asked that question?
No, it's not.
Have to ask Julie that one.
Councillor McGee. Question?
Questions called.
Questions, Scott? All those in favor, raise your hands. Sorry. Councillor Drawn?
Not in favor.
Not in favor. Councillor Bird?
In favor.
9-1. Councillor Drawn opposed. Okay. Anything else there, Mr. Kelly? No? Meal or anything? No meal, okay. Cup of coffee? Motion adjourned?
Move.
All those in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just a question.